Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Potts and this is my Chapter 4 presentation on tissue, the living fabric. So to begin, let's start with what is tissue. Tissue is a collection of cells similar in structure and function. The study of tissue is called histology. Tissues provide structural organization. As we know, the organizations start with atoms, which then continue into molecules, which then go into cells, which now are tissue, and further into organs and organ systems. There's 4 different types of tissues. The main types are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. So to start with epithelial tissue, also called the epithelium, these cells are tightly packed together to create sheets. They consist of the lining, covering, and the glandular tissue of the body. The covering and lining covers all free surfaces, while the glandular epithelium forms the glands. It has an apical surface, which is at the top, and a basal, which is at the bottom. It is attached to the basement membrane. On the left side, you can see that displayed. It has no blood supply, so it is considered avascular. It depends on diffusion from the capillaries in the underlying connective tissue for oxygen and nutrients. They also regenerate easily. The main functions are protection, absorption, secretion, and excretion. So how are epithelial tissues named? They are named by the total layer and shape of the cells. So depending on the layer of cells, if it's one layer of cells, it's considered simple epithelium. If it's consisted of more than one layer of cells, it's called stratified epithelium. Going on to the shape of the cell, you have the squamous cells, which are flattened like a pancake. I like to think of them as squished. Then you have cuboidal cells, which are cube-like, similar in height and width ratio. You have columnar cells, which are column-shaped, taller than they are wider. And then you have transitional cells, which are round when not stretched and flattened when they are stretched. And you can see this on the left side, the bottom left. There's an example of each type of cells within the epithelium. Now going further into the different types of the epithelium, you have the simple squamous, which is the single layer of flat-like cells. They look squished. On the image on the right, you can see the squished-like cells. The nuclei are disc-shaped. The functions of this type of tissue is diffusion, filtration, and secretion. It's found within the heart, blood, and lymphatic vessels, as well as the air sacs of the lungs. The simple cuboidal epithelium is a single layer of cube or box-like shaped cells. The nuclei are considered to be round. The functions are secretion and absorption. These can be found in the thyroid glands, kidney tubules, as well as the surface of the ovaries. Going on to the simple columnar epithelium, this is a single layer of rectangle or column-shaped cells. The nuclei are considered to be elongated, round to oval, located near the basement membrane. They may contain goblet cells, microvilli, or even cilia. Cilia helps move substances along the cell surface. The microvilli increase surface area of the cell, and the goblet cells produce lubricating mucus. Some of the functions of these simple columnar epithelium tissues are secretion and absorption. These can be found in the lining of the digestive tract, which are the non-ciliated ones, and the ciliated ones can be found in the lining of the bronchi, fallopian tubes, and the uterus. Another type of columnar epithelium tissue is pseudostratified epithelium. This is a single layer of rectangular shaped cells of differing heights. The nuclei appear to be at different heights. The different heights can cause the epithelium to look stratified. Pseudo means false, hence the name. These can be ciliated or non-ciliated. The function of this type of epithelium is absorption and secretion. It's mostly found in the respiratory system. Now we have stratified squamous type of epithelium. This can be either keratinized or non-keratinized. You can see the different images under a microscope on the right. The keratinized ones are multiple layers of flat, squished-like cells. They're filled with keratin, which is a protein that makes them tough and water resistant. The function of these type of tissues is to provide protection against abrasion and friction, and also provide protection against any pathogen invasion. It can be found in the epidermis of the skin. Going on to the non-keratinized ones, these are also multiple layers of squish-like cells. They assist in hydration. The function is to provide protection in moist environments, preventing dehydration. It can be found in the oral cavity, esophagus, and even the vagina within women. Another type of stratified tissue is the stratified cuboidal tissue, also known as glandular epithelium. It consists of 2 layers of cube or box-shaped cells. The function is protection of ducts and also secretion. You can find this type of tissue in the largest ducts of the body, mammary glands, or sweat glands. The final type of epithelium we're going to talk about is transitional epithelium. It's multiple layers of cells that change shape from cuboidal to squamous. When stretched, the cells are flattened, squamous, or columnar-like. The shape depends on the degree of the stretch. Function, it allows for stretching and distension. These are only located in the lining of the urinary bladder, your ureters, as well as part of the urethra. So very important to remember that this is only part of the urinary system. So as we mentioned in the beginning, there's 4 different main types of tissue. The second type we're going to talk about is connective tissue. Connective tissue establishes the structural framework for the human body. It is the most abundant, widely distributed of the tissue types within our body. It acts as a space filler between other organs and tissue types. It varies in blood supply, but mostly are vascular, meaning there is blood, some being avascular, no blood. It varies from liquid, blood, semi-liquid, cartilage, and solid bone. It includes various types of cells. Some examples are fibroblasts, macrophages, and adipocytes. So because connective tissue is so widely spread throughout the body, it has many different types of functions and many different types. One of the main types is areolar connective tissue. It's a loose arrangement of fibers with various cells in a gel-like matrix. The function is cushions, supports the epithelium, and holds organs in place. You can find these underneath the epithelial tissue, around blood vessels, between muscles. On the right side, you can see the image. Then we have adipose connective tissue. These are large, closely packed adipocytes, which are fat cells. These are considered energy storage, insulation, and cushioning sites. The subcutaneous layer beneath the skin is where you can find this. On the right side, you can see what that looks like. Going on to reticular connective tissue. This is a network of reticular fibers which scatter the reticular cells. It provides a supportive framework for soft organs. You can find these within the lymph nodes, spleen, bone marrow, and liver. Going on to dense or regular tissue. This is tightly packed parallel bundles of collagen fibers with fibroblasts. The function is strong attachment, resist pulling forces. You can find these within the tendons, which attach the muscle to bone, or the ligaments, which attach bone to bone. Going on to dense, irregular connective tissue. These are regularly arranged collagen fibers with fibroblasts. They resist tension from many directions. You can find these on the dermis of the skin, fibrous capsules of the organs, and within the joints. Going on to more types of connective tissue, you have elastic connective tissue. This is a dense arrangement of elastic fibers with some collagen fibers. The function is it allows tissues to recoil after being stretched. The location of this are the walls of the large arteries, such as the aorta, bronchial tubes, or certain vertebral ligaments. Then we have the hyaline cartilage, which is the glassy matrix which dispersed collagen fibers. It provides support, flexibility, and reduces friction. You can find this within the end of the long bones, nose, trachea, or fetal skeleton. Then we have elastic cartilage. This is like hyaline cartilage, but it has more elastic fibers. It provides shape and flexibility. You can find this within the external ear or the epiglottis, which is your tongue. Then we have fibrocartilage, which is thick collagen fibers alternating with rows of chondrocytes. It resists compression, absorbs shock. You can find these within the disc of the vertebral body, as well as the menisci of the knee. Now we have compact bone connective tissue. It's dense matrix with organized osteus, which are osteocytes, which are the bone cells. It provides structural support, protection, and calcium and phosphorus reservoir. It acts as the outer layer of all of our bones. Now going on to blood, it's a liquid extracellular matrix, plasma, with red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The function of this is it transports nutrients, gases, waste, and immune cells throughout our body. You can find this within the cardiovascular system, the heart, the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. Now going on to the third type of tissue within our body, it's muscle tissue. It's composed of cells that can contract or shorten to generate force that produces the movement within our body. It can be involuntary or voluntary movement. There's three main types. You have the skeletal muscle, which is voluntary, striated, and attached to bones. Then we have the smooth muscle tissue. It's involuntary, non-striated, and it's found in the walls of the internal organs. And the last type is the cardiac muscle tissue. It's involuntary, striated, found only in the heart, and it's responsible for pumping blood. So in these images, you can see the different types of smooth, skeletal, and cardiac muscle. They're all labeled A, B, and C. Now moving on to the fourth and final type of tissue within our body. This is the nervous tissue. The main type of tissue is within our nervous system. It controls and regulates the body activity. It reminds me of a hand, as you can see on the bottom left picture. It consists of neurons, nerve cells, and neuralgia, which are the supporting cells. The neurons have specialized structures called dendrites and axons to transmit signals. The function of this type of tissue is it transmits electrical impulses, controls and regulates body activity. It's also responsible for communication between the different body systems. You will only find these within the brain, spinal cord, and the nerves. So what are the differences in our endocrine and exocrine glands? The endocrine glands are glands that release hormones directly into the bloodstream. The hormones then travel through the blood and they act on other cells and organs within our body. The endocrine glands are ductless, meaning no tubes or ducts. Once again, they go directly into the bloodstream. An example of this is the thyroid gland, which is located in the neck, or the pituitary gland, which is located in the brain. Then we have our different types of exocrine glands. These are glands that release their secretions onto the surface of an organ or into a body cavity through ducts. They act locally, usually on or in the surface near a specific gland. The exocrine glands do have ducts. Some examples of this is a sweat gland or your saliva glands. Now going on to the different types of membranes in the human body, you have the cutaneous membrane, which is generally called the skin. This is the outer covering that we rely on for protection. It provides protection of our internal organs. It's a dry membrane exposed to air like a waterproof cover. It consists of the epidermis, which is composed of stratified squamous epithelium, and the dermis, which is mostly dense fibrous connective tissue. Now we have mucous membranes. These are composed of various epithelium tissue resting on a loose connective tissue. These line passageways like the digestive, urinary, or reproductive tract. These are moist membranes and they reduce friction and facilitate in absorption. The final type of membrane is serous membranes. These are also called the serosa membranes. It's composed of a simple layer of epithelium resting on a thin layer of connective tissue. The layers are separated by serous fluid, the lining of the pleural cavity, as well as the pericardial cavity and the peritoneal cavity. The fluid is secreted to reduce friction as organs expand and contract. All right, and that looks like that's all for my chapter 4 presentation on tissue. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Thank you.